The Smoky Mountains, a beautiful place with unforgettable scenery, wildlife, and much more. The beautiful, tall, towering mountains stand as a symbol to show that even early Americans could traverse even the toughest of terrain. But these mountains have a story to tell, one that involves man and machine. These mountains were home to many different railroads during its time, one of which being the Little River Railroad. These railroads were very important to help small towns in the mountains grow in population, and popularity as well. Many of these popular tourist towns, such as Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, would not exist today if it weren't for the railroad bringing people here. But we are not here to talk about the Smoky Mountains themselves. But in this program, we are covering a railroad that has been in Pigeon Forge since the 1960s. The Dollywood Express, aka Rebel Railroad, Silver Dollar City, depends on the timeline. The Dollywood Express is one of the most popular rides in the theme park. Unlike the other rides, many different age demographics can ride this ride, including children as well as older adults. The railroad first opened as Rebel Railroad in 1961. Over the years, the park has undergone many different name changes, from Rebel Railroad, Gold Rush Junction, Silver Dollar City, and present-day Dollywood. The park became Dollywood specifically in 1986. This is actually the park's 40th anniversary this year. Present-day Dollywood is much different than Rebel Railroad, as many different rides have been added since 1961. But on our visit, on 3 different days, we chased this impressive locomotive and its train throughout the park as it tackles the 5 and 6% grades up the mountain. This is not a program you will want to miss, but enough of the history out of the way. So without a further ado, I present to you Thundering Up the Iron Mountain. Pulling our trains in this program is locomotive number 70. 70 was a 282 Mikado-style steam locomotive built in 1938 by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in Philadelphia. 70 was capable of producing 25,200 pounds of tractive effort, had a boiler pressure of about 205 psi, and overall weighed about 85,500 pounds. She has 44-inch drivers and used to be able to carry 4,000 gallons of water with her old tender. 70 was one of 4 of her class built, along with 71, 72, and 73. 70 and her sisters served valiantly on the White Pass, pulling many freight trains and troop trains on the route during World War II. They also aided in the construction of the Alcan Military Highway during World War II as well. 71 and 70 were the oldest of the class, while 72 and 73 were built later in 1947 after the war. 70 had a very eventful career on the White Pass, as she has been documented to flip over on her side numerous times. These wrecks did not do major damage to the locomotive other than cosmetic work that needed to be done, and the locomotive continued service for many more years. 70 in particular continued service until she was finally retired from service in 1963. The then 23-year-old engine was very worn out from service and was put in a siding for 14 years in storage. 70 would sit dormant, not being used until 1977 when she was purchased by a theme park known as Silver Dollar City, Tennessee. Silver Dollar City, Tennessee also had another locomotive, S118 Class 192, which also served at White Pass. The railroad needed more motive power, so bought 70 along with 71 and what was left of now scrapped 72, which burned in a roundhouse fire. The engine would sit for 10 more years unused until 1987 when Silver Dollar City, now known as Dollywood, would restore 70 to operating condition. 71, on the other hand, has been sitting out of service since her retirement and has not been steamed up since the White Pass days. Talks have been discussed for many years to bring 71 back to service, but none of the talks have proven to be successful. 72 was burned in a roundhouse fire and was scrapped. The only parts of the locomotive that were saved were the frame and other miscellaneous parts. As a matter of fact, the drivers off 72 are actually on 70 right now. Number 73, on the other hand, survived and occasionally does excursion service on the White Pass and Yukon Railroad to this day. 70 has served Dollywood well since its restoration and is actually the crew's favorite locomotive. 70, unlike 192, pulls the grades better and has more tractive effort, thus making her the better locomotive out of the two. But all locomotives have their differences and quirks where others do not. With the history of these engines out of the way, let's get to the shots and watch as this locomotive tackles the grade.
We Feed them chickens. Bye-bye. All right, folks, I want you to sit back and relax while I tell you about this road. Like you can see, it's pretty sitting behind me there.
every day for them. Lots of people at this mountain today. We're proud of her so much we want to let her show off every now and then. So how about it, everybody? Would y'all like to hear the engineer play a tune on that cross-country chime whistle? All right, then, on the count of three, we're going to tell the engineer to blow the whistle. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Blow the whistle.
Dollywood, we're proud of our engines and the crews who operate them, and we hope that you all enjoy riding behind them just as much as we do.
let you know when it is safe to go. Thank you and enjoy yourself here at Dollywood. Remain seated, everyone. And then we're back. Folks, everybody stay seated. I'll let you know when it is safe.
After the run is over, the train will return to the depot to gather more passengers. For a theme park, this railroad is very impressive. I highly recommend you come visit here. Be sure to book your tickets on the Dollywood website.
20 minutes or so. We'll see you later, Chris. Once again, folks, part one. Small children need to be on the inside of your road. They cannot sit on the outside edge. Thank you.
Dollywood, cinnamon roll.